Mahinga na yan sa English sa classroom.
I'm Evelyn Flores.
Louder, louder. Dini.
That's really loud. I'm Evelyn Flores. I have remained Evelyn Flores at work. My last name, my married name is Brzezowski. People have called him Bronchoscopy, Bazowowski, and what else, Larry? Bozo. I chose to remain and keep my maiden name because I didn't want to be called Bozo.
And she wants me to change my name to Flores.
You want to come up here?
Always right, always
The
right.
woman is always right.
You want to come up here? Well, in 1962, we graduated together. And from there, we went separate ways. Well, we went to PUC. You, Jesse, and who else was with us? Ruben, you graduated with us? No.
I was 66.
Yeah, Eddie
What?
Corpus.
Eddie Corpus, Dado de Asis, if you remember.
Yeah.
Percy Tamayo, no. Percy Tamayo, we graduated pre-med together, right?
Yes.
Percy. But in those 4 years, we were all at PUC, all of us.
Yeah.
Then there were 15 of us that graduated pre-med. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse.
Yeah.
But then we parted ways. I was the only girl in the group of 15. 8 of you went to MCU, and I got drafted into the UERM medical school. Yes. So Eddie Corpus, Percy Tamayo, Dado de Asis, Lawrence Gayao, you remember him?
Godyosa Mapacquiao.
No. I think
Oh,
Bobby was
you are
with
talking
you.
with Yui?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, the 7 of us and the 8 of you went. James Pastor went with you, and from there on we took off, and I was lucky to have obtained a partial scholarship from the school, so that helped me with my tuition a lot. Then I went to medical school, graduated. In those days, they required you to have a 1-year internship before you graduated. When my sister went, it was changed to like what we do here. You graduate first, and then you do an internship. So I did an internship there, and then they wanted me to stay to do the internal medicine residency, which I did. My parents, because I also finished medical technology prerequisites, because Mrs. Miyapi, her husband had influenced me to go into medical technology because it was big then. And he said, you know, you'll be finished early, blah, 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 blah. So I finished that too, but my mom's youngest sister said, just complete your pre-med requirements, because that's what I always wanted to do, just in case. So I applied to 1 internship in San Diego for med tech, and 1 to medical school. And because we were so immature at that age, you know, I said, well, whichever comes first, I'll take. So UERM, where I went, took me first. Then I went to internal medicine residency, and my parents said, now that you're looking towards doing an internship in medical technology in the States, you might want to go to our hospital. And that was where I did my 2nd-year requirement for the internal medicine residency. And then I was like in between, like decision making was difficult because I was going to try to apply to Paradise Valley Hospital then. It was my uncle, Uncle Dan, and Aunt Betty. They were working, my aunt was working there. But it turned out that my aunt had written me so many letters like, no, just keep focused on what you really wanted to do. You know, it's going to take a little time, but if you pursued what you had wanted to do from the very get-go, just do it. So when I came in, well, no, I was still in the Philippines and I applied for an exchange visa to come here, thinking that I would either do, but I took the ECFMG at home because my aunt told me, you know, you might as well. I came here with the idea that I would be a medical technologist, but the acceptance came to me from Pennsylvania. to be an intern. So I had to do another internship, like we all are required to do, right, Jess?
Yes.
So I had to do another year of internship, and then everybody wanted me to be a surgeon. But I could not wake up early. I'm never an early person, and so I rotated with surgery just to see, and I could not wake up. I was always absent from chapel period. Thank you to your dad for exempting me from the grounds work. Because that when you missed chapel period, you had an hour to work in the hot grounds. Anyway, so I came here, and when I went to McKeesport, it's McKeesport, Pennsylvania, near Pitt. I apprenticed with a dermatologist because I wanted to be lazy. No emergencies, no waking up early. So I apprenticed with a dermatologist there for about a year, but procrastinating me, I interviewed late and they already picked their quota for the dermatology program the coming year. So I was going to be without a job, and I'm on an exchange visitor's visa. So I said, okay, neurology was the next in line. I go to New York, and I was depressed when I saw it. All these ugly, dark brick buildings. I'm like, I cannot live here. But then I won't have a job, and they'll kick me out and go back. So I was accepted to the neurology program. And I'm not going to tell you the juicy parts of my story, because this boy, I was on call in Pittsburgh when I left as an intern. I was so busy. Had no bed to sleep on. My apartment had triple locks in New York, Brooklyn, New York. And my bed was not going to come. I was going to sleep on an area rug. But they made me on call. The following night, this boy walks in, asking me to give me all the details of what I did because I filled the ward. Right, Larry?
Yep.
I still hold the record for admissions in the 12-hour period that night. Needless to say, because it's a charity hospital or charity ward, we did all the scut work, draw the blood, put the IV, do the LP, blah, blah, blah. I was bloody, a bloody mess. In comes this guy, all clean and stiff. And he goes, but he did not introduce himself, so I taught him a little bit of that. He comes in and he said, where are the patients? Can you tell me about them? I go, can I just tell you about who's to be watched tonight? Because you know, the call person was only to worry about tonight. Well, he said, no, can you tell me about each one of them? 2 chart racks, you know those hanging things? Yes. Pull them in, and I go, I have 3 or 4 more in another floor because we had no more beds. And he still wanted to insistently go through. How old is this person? What is his problem? How did he present? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I asked to be excused because I thought he was the chief resident. I stepped out and I go to the nurse station, which is right by where we write our progress notes. I said, who is that fellow? He did not tell me his name. Is he the chief resident? And she's from Trinidad, big woman. Her name is Jack. We call her Jack because her last name is Jack. She peeks. She's a black lady. She goes, that guy, he just started with you. I walked in there. I'm going to tell you who you're going to watch tonight. You're not even here. You're in the private sector where everybody's doing things for you. Well, I don't know how it ended, but he had a new name for me. Best. And we had a lot of Filipino friends there that I met, and he loved to tag around. We had a Shoki guy who loved to cook for me because if the food was pork, his apartment was right across the street. He goes, what's the food? I said, I can't eat it. Come over. And he cooks up a storm. Then we would have potlucks. I didn't know how to cook. So I brought fruit salad every time. He did not bring anything. He wanted to come around, but didn't bring anything. So I was like, I didn't like him at all. First off, we required those uniforms, white pants, and his pants were always so high up because it was flooded where he comes from. I said, is it flooded again? In points. Plus, he did not know how to match his socks with his necktie. He was just... Little did I know he was colorblind. And so now we only get black socks, dark gray, and navy blue, and dark brown. And he can do that. He's gotten better. Then after that, we were going to be jobless. Oh, we did a fellowship here in neurophysiology doing EMGs, testing nerves, blah, blah, blah. And I was sent to set up some EEG labs in another hospital. He went to London to do a, what did you do, Larry?
Three-month fellowship.
Yeah, a 3-month fellowship at the top neurological hospital at Queen Square. That's when we started communicating. He was my pest. But we became a little bit friendly because one day it was pouring hard and his apartment was farther away from mine while I drove 2 blocks to my apartment because Brooklyn is very dangerous. So I had to drive and you have to get your alternate street parking. One day it was pouring hard and he was like this, ready to run, ready to run. Hey, you want a ride? And that was when we became friends and he was seeing another girl. I was seeing another guy, and we became like confidants. And we, when we got married, my friends, Filipino friends, told me, we're giving you 1 year. 1 year. Then we go on a honeymoon, come back, because I don't wear sing-sing. And he learns a few Filipino words, and ever since then I said, no more Filipino for you. In a group of people, all Filipinos eating lunch at the cafeteria, we were checking each other because sometimes we leave our sing-sing somewhere else. And he asks me, "Where? Show them you're singing." And of course, this whole big cafeteria of 650 some interns and residents was wondering why that whole table was bursting in laughter. And I said, please don't tell them anything. No, don't say anything. And that was how. Now we had, after our fellowship year, we both wanted to start a family, getting old, And we had 2 daughters. One we lost 12 years ago, the picture of which is on his shirt, to an accident. She was a Boston U grad, business management, did very well. At the time she had her accident, she was heading towards home so that I could help drive her to California because she wanted to do her MBA here at UC Berkeley. 8 miles or so from my house, she was hit by a semi, and we lost her then. My younger daughter did not want to get married. They were only 11 months and 3 weeks apart. Who can beat that? And she didn't want to get married because apparently they promised each other they would be made to honor for each other. But eventually she finds somebody, and she said she was not having kids. Now they have kids because he wanted kids. And now we have a Down syndrome grandchild, 1. We waited so long, but prayers have really been working for us for I keep saying, we were in the intensive care unit, airlifted, emergency cesarean, opposite sex, sex. We were expecting a girl. She was going to name the baby after her sister. 2 weeks into this thing, she told me, maybe God gave me a boy because it would have been difficult for me to name her after my sister. So here we are. We practice neurology in Reading, Pennsylvania, pronounced Reading, not Reading, spelled like Reading. Because during our fellowship year, we interviewed in California and Florida because I said I wanted a warm climate, but it was overpopulated, so the 2 neurologists could not find a job. So we took on the offer in Pennsylvania. We were going to stay there a year, and we've been there 39 years. I just retired almost 2 weeks ago now, and Larry is going to continue to support me. He promised that he will support me before I retire. So I had to retire because of the baby that we have. I have to help my daughter who's in New Mexico. She has a studio and a gallery there. Her husband teaches school, and both in-laws are in the East Coast. So Larry will continue to work as an employee this time because we owned our practice for 35 of those years, and then we subcontracted the last 4 years. Now he's an employee. So he doesn't want to rock, he said, because if he stops, he will just be watching TV, watching movies. That's his weakness, and he plays tennis. Keep him busy. Meantime, I'm also active in our church. I play the organ there for as long as I've been there, and I want to keep it going. We started the CHIP program once there. I was in charge of the health ministry for a while. And Larry is an adopted member of our church. They all, they all love him. I overspent the time.